So we're going to take a quick break from handling the grain in the machine, and we're going to focus on the residue in the back of the machine. So anybody that's been around a Case IH combine for very long knows that they're one of the industry leaders in spreading of residue. In our area in Western Kentucky, that's really important to our customers, to be able to handle the residue, to come back and be able to plant into that stuff while doing double crops and things of that nature. Case IH, in my opinion, is the industry leader in this area. So our knives are arranged on the chopper in a spiral configuration so that we can slowly grab the residue gradually and then discharge it out the back and let our residue managers handle that. But just to talk a little bit more about our chopper configurations, we have a couple just to talk about our different chopper configurations, we have a couple of different OEM offerings from Case IH on that. Most popular for us in our area is the MagnaCut chopper with the dual disc spreader residue system as well. That does a really good job of chopping up the fine residue, and then once it hits the back spreaders, you can spread it up to 45 feet evenly from side to side. So an important thing about our chopper and our residue management system is that's where we start next year's crop cycle, okay? So what our chopper and residue managers allow us to do, our chopper is integrated into the back of our machine. It's not setting off the back. We actually process the material while it's still in the machine and then discharge it out the back. What that allows us to do, since the chopper is integrated and not a separate part of the machine, it lets us separate the trash a little bit earlier than our competition and allows us to do a true grain loss sample once we are trying to set our combine. So continue to talk a little bit about our chopper and our residue management system. Up inside here, you will see Case IH has taken the inevitable is going to happen. If you have something turning that fast with that many moving parts, something is bound to happen at some point or another. So Case IH has actually made those pieces now to where they're replaceable, so that when you trade those things in, salesmen like me can't ding you for having holes up in your hood of your cleaning system in the back. Also, I want to show you our counter chopper knives in there that we can engage or disengage depending on what crop we're harvesting at that particular time. Moving over here to our residue management system, you will see that we have two different styles of residue management system. We have what I call impeller paddles, which is this system, which can come adjustable from the cab. You can change the pitch and angle up underneath here to try to determine how far you want to spread your material as well. We also have the dual disc spreader system, which I referenced earlier, that does a really good job of spreading the whole crop mat evenly and making it easier for our double crop farmers to plant their next crop.
As you can see from the factory, we do have several different options for an unloading auger. We do have two different folding options. One would be for a 40 or 45 foot head. This particular package is for a 50 foot head, which we will see in the future. We have options for a non-folding, a standard wear, and extended wear. You'll also see our pivoting spout, which is a grain saving technique. Inside of that is a cup that when that spout is turned up, it'll actually cup up and stop the dribble when we're coming back away from the grain cart. And remember that this unloading auger is 4.5 bushels per second, which is an industry leader. It's also faster than the 40 series or previous models. Now that we've threshed and cleaned the crop and we've put it in our 410 bushel grain tank, let's talk about unloading it. If you look above me, we were an industry leader with our 8230 series when we added this extra chain that you see. What that is cross auger control. So if we're topping off your grain cart or your grain truck and it gets full and our grain tank is still full in the combine, we can push a button on the propulsion handle, disable the augers in the grain tank, and allow us to completely unload the unloading auger so that we can top off the cart and not be carrying all the weight of what's in that unloading auger.
All right, to close out this video, Matt and I are going to talk a little bit more about our grain handling system. We're going to talk to you about our clean grain elevator and our tailings processor, some of the features that we've added for the 250 series machine, as well as the updates for the 2020 and the 2021 year models. Matt?
Behind me is our clean grain elevator. First off, these do have an option for a 2-speed elevator. H&O AgriPower, we like ordering every one of our combines with a 2-speed elevator. This allows us to get that grain away regardless of the size of the header. I know that that is an issue for some of our competitors, is having to slow down when this elevator overloads. New for the 2020 year production, if you'll look, there is an EX on the side of these elevators that will indicate if they are extended wear or not. When we have an automated combine, on the back side of this unloading auger, we now have a camera, which will read the MOG or the material other than grain content going to the elevator. Now, some of our competitors allow you to see that. Our system usually responds faster than theirs, so we don't have the need to have to look at that sample constantly. Back to you.
Thanks, Matt. So talking about our tailings processor here on the 250 series machine, a lot of people, when they talk about tailings, right, they're thinking about, well, that's grain that's going to be rethreshed, right? Well, here at Case IH, we here at Case IH have what we call a tri-sweep tailings processor, okay? So we're really gentle on the grain sample coming through here. If it makes it to our tailings processor, we take a little bit better care of the grain. We don't encourage cracks. We don't encourage, harmed grain of any kind. So the big thing about our tailings processor, right, is that instead of putting it back into the rotor cage like a bunch of our competitors and stuff do, we put it back on top of our active grain pan that Matt talked to you about. So what that allows us to do is keep our machine from contacting that grain as much as it possibly can, and keeping with our concept of grain-on-grain separation. So another thing that we've added to this tailings processor, right, for all of our red guys out there, and I know Matt has fought them too, when you go to start a machine for the first time in the year, the first thing that we've got to check is what, Matt?
Tailing sensor.
A tailing sensor, right. So our old style was the potentiometer deal, It was efficient, it was effective for what it was. It got us through a lot of years, but the engineers at Case IH have done us a really good service by changing our sensor. But they actually moved our sensor out from under the combine over here to the side of the tailings processor. And what that is, it's an optical sensor that uses light, that uses light to see how much grain is passing through the tailing system. So that's just another way, with the addition of our automation and in addition to all these sensors, that Case IH is trying to make our lives a little bit easier.